My friend, tonight I invite you to look beyond the veil of separation. You believe your thoughts are private, but they are the whispers that echo through eternity. There is no distance between souls, for consciousness is one ocean, expressing itself in countless forms. The moment you imagine your beloved hearing you, they do. The moment you feel love within, that love is received. You are not reaching out to them, you are summoning yourself from another form. Telepathy is not magic. It is understanding that we are one divine mind, dreaming each other into existence. They hear your love in silence, even when you say nothing. Your imagination is the language of the soul, and your SP is fluent in it. Tonight, discover how your thoughts become their inner voice. My friend, listen carefully. There is an invisible thread that binds every soul to another, a current of awareness flowing beneath all appearances of distance, separation, or time. You may look upon another and believe they stand apart from you, another body, another mind, another life. Yet this is only the shadow play of perception. In truth, all are one consciousness dreaming itself in infinite forms. What you call art yourself is but a focus of that one mind, and what you call Sem, your beloved, your specific person, is another focus of the same divine imagination. When you understand this, telepathy ceases to be a mystery. It is the most natural exchange in existence. You do not need words to be heard, nor letters to be understood, for every thought you hold with feeling vibrates through this shared consciousness, and it must be received by the one toward whom it is directed. Thought is not bound by lips or sound. It is energy clothed in emotion, and emotion is the language of the soul. When you think of your beloved, you are not merely recalling a memory, you are entering into communion with their being. You are touching the very current that animates them, the same current that lives in you. The invisible connection is not forged by effort, it already exists. It is eternal. You cannot create it or destroy it. You can only awaken to it. There are moments when you have felt it, though you may not have known its name. A sudden thought of someone moments before they call, a stirring in your heart that brings their message before their words arrive. That is the invisible bond reminding you, consciousness precedes communication. It is the unseen conversation happening beneath every spoken word. Let me tell you this, no thought born of love is ever lost. When you dwell in the feeling of affection, tenderness, and union, your beloved receives it instantly. Whether they are across the street or across the world, distance is powerless before the unity of mind. The invisible thread does not stretch across space, it exists beyond it. It is the timeless link between you and all you love. But beware, my friend, this same law works in all directions. If you dwell in fear, doubt, or resentment, you two are communicating. You are sending out the vibration of separation, and the one you love must mirror it. Do not ask how, the answer lies within the law of consciousness. You cannot think one thing and experience another. The inner conversation becomes the outer reflection. If you desire harmony, speak harmony within. If you long for understanding, imagine yourself understood. Do not plead, for pleading affirms lack. Instead, rest in the quiet, knowing that your beloved already hears you, already feels you, already responds to you. Your imagination is not fantasy. It is the workshop of creation, the inner chamber where all relationships are shaped. When you sit in silence and picture your beloved smiling, you are not daydreaming, you are sending a living image into the field of consciousness. That image takes root in their mind as inspiration, as feeling, as impulse. They may not know why they suddenly think of you, why they feel warmth toward you, but you know. You have spoken the only language that exists beyond words, the vibration of feeling. This invisible connection is sacred. It is the bridge between seen and unseen, between the known and the infinite. Every person you meet is a mirror of your inner world, and every feeling you hold toward them echoes back as their attitude toward you. The law is precise, immutable, and intimate. When you think lovingly of your specific person, you are not merely hoping, you are declaring unity. You are saying within, we are one consciousness, expressing as two. Do you now see why silence is never empty? Why your thoughts, clothed in emotion, are more powerful than any spoken declaration? Because feeling is the vibration of creation itself. In the stillness of your mind, your emotions sculpt reality, and your beloved is the clay that receives its form. What you feel about them, they begin to feel about you. What you imagine them to be, they become in your experience. You have been communicating telepathically all your life, though you may not have called it so. Every assumption you hold, every inner dialogue you repeat, every picture you dwell upon, these are messages sent through the invisible network of mind. The universe does not require technology to transmit them. It only requires belief. So when you find yourself yearning for your beloved, stop and remember the invisible connection is already alive. You do not need to reach out. You need only turn within. Close your eyes and feel their presence. Speak to them in the silence of your heart. Not as one begging to be heard, but as one who knows the message is already received. Say within yourself, once you and I are one. What I feel now you feel. What I love within you respond to without. This is not imagination in the childish sense. It is imagination as divine power. You are the sender and receiver of every vibration. You are the dreamer and the dreamed. Every time you lift your consciousness into love, gratitude, and certainty, you lift your beloved with you. They cannot remain unchanged, for they live within the same mind that you do. The invisible connection does not ask for proof. It reveals itself in the quiet knowing, in the synchronicities, in the sudden softening of hearts. It reveals itself when messages cross without words, when hearts understand before lips move. You may call it intuition, spirit, or telepathy. It matters not. It is the divine reminder that we are not separate minds trying to reach each other. We are one mind awakening to itself through love. And when that truth settles in you, the world around you shifts. You begin to see signs everywhere, gentle confirmations that your inner world governs the outer. Your beloved smiles more, texts sooner, calls unexpectedly. But these are not miracles. They are natural responses to your inner radiance. You have tuned your signal, and the invisible connection has answered. There is but one mind, one consciousness, expressing itself through the countless faces of humanity. You may call it God, Spirit, the Infinite, but it matters not what name you give it. The name changes nothing. The truth remains unaltered. You and your beloved are not two minds struggling to reach understanding. You are one awareness, dreaming from 2 points of view. The illusion of separation is the veil through which all human drama unfolds. Remove that veil, and you see that every word spoken, every thought imagined, every emotion felt is occurring within the same vast consciousness that both of you share. When you understand the law of one mind, you no longer try to convince another to hear you. You know they already do. There are not many minds communicating through invisible cords. There is one mind moving within itself, whispering from one corner of consciousness to another. You, as a conscious being, are not a fragment of this mind. You are the very awareness through which it expresses its infinite possibilities. Therefore, what you think of another is not merely a private thought. It is an impression made upon the one mind that animates them as well. When you think lovingly of your specific person, you are not sending a message across distance. You are shifting the state of the one mind in which you both exist. That shift must echo in them, for they are the other end of your assumption. When you imagine them happy, you make happiness the condition of the shared mind, and the reflection must appear through them. The law of one mind does not fail. It operates with mathematical precision. Think of this. In a dream, every character, every voice, every scene arises from one consciousness, your own. If in that dream you speak to another, you are still speaking to yourself, for every figure is but an extension of your imagination. The dream feels real while you are in it, yet upon waking you recognize it was all yourself playing every role. So it is in this grander dream of life. When you speak inwardly to your beloved, you are conversing with another aspect of your own consciousness. You are dreaming them as you would dream any character in sleep. And because consciousness is one, they must feel what you decree. You might protest, but they do not respond. They are silent. My friend, the silence is not absence, it is incubation. The seed of your inner speech has been planted in the soil of the one mind, and like every seed, it must unfold in its appointed season. The response comes not when you strain to hear it, but when you rest in knowing it is already received. Your assumption of being heard is the law's fulfillment. The world tells you that minds are separate, that communication requires words, sound, and proximity. Yet even science begins to sense what mystics have known through centuries, that thought moves beyond form, that emotion imprints itself upon the unseen field of existence. But the mystic goes further and says there are not many fields but one. There are not many senders and receivers. There is only consciousness knowing itself. When you say, I love you, within your heart, and you feel it deeply, you are not broadcasting to another mind. You are expanding the vibration of love within the one mind, and your beloved, being an inseparable expression of that mind, must respond to it. You are the center of consciousness. Everything else is your circumference. Whatever you assume at the center must ripple outward to the edges. So you see, my friend, you need not chase or persuade anyone. You need not beg for love, for recognition, for attention. All such acts imply that there exists another apart from you who must be convinced, but in truth, the other is yourself in another form. Speak to them within, as you would speak to yourself in confidence, for that is exactly what you are doing. When you imagine them kind, they become kindness personified. When you picture them distant, they mirror distance. The law is infallible. Consciousness externalizes its assumptions. Do not be deceived by appearances. The senses will insist that another has a mind of their own, that they can resist your desire. But resistance exists only in your belief in division. When you accept that there is one mind, resistance dissolves, for there is no one left to oppose you. The shadow of opposition fades as the light of unity rises. The one mind contains no conflict, only harmony expressing in degrees. You might recall moments when you and your beloved thought the same thought simultaneously, when they finished your sentence or sensed your emotion without a word. These glimpses are the natural functioning of the one mind unclouded by doubt. Telepathy, intuition, empathy, all are fragments of the greater truth that we are one being. Now understand this clearly. The one mind is not limited to human relationships alone. It is the intelligence that beats your heart, that moves the stars, that dreams the seasons into being. To align with it consciously is to move in harmony with the rhythm of creation on itself. When you hold a thought with conviction, you command the one mind, and it must mirror your conviction through the forms nearest to you. In matters of love, this law becomes a sacred dance. As you change your assumption of yourself, no longer the one longing, but the one already beloved, the shared mind reorganizes itself to reflect that state. Your specific person must sense the shift, for the current of being has turned. They are not deciding to respond, they are moved from within, for their consciousness is your own. Do you see the majesty of it? There is no need to wait for signs, no need to question how or when. The law of one mind operates now, in this instant, for time itself is but a construction within that mind. Every thought impregnated with feeling becomes a command to the universe, and the universe, being consciousness, answers immediately, though its evidence may unfold gently in the realm of form. So when you sit in quiet contemplation and imagine your beloved embracing you, it is not fantasy, it is creation. You are not hoping, you are remembering what is eternally true. The one mind cannot contradict itself. And if within you love exists, then that love must be recognized through the one you call your own. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought moves within the same infinite awareness that binds you both. And it is here, in this knowing, that true communion begins. Imagination, my friend, is the bridge between the seen and the unseen, the inner and the outer, the invisible current of mind and its visible reflection. It is through imagination that the one mind speaks, moves, and creates. All that you behold, every event, every gesture, every circumstance, is but imagination made visible. The world is a mirror, faithfully reflecting the inner activity of your consciousness. To know this is to hold the key to telepathy itself, for your imagination is the instrument through which you communicate with every other aspect of being. When you close your eyes and picture your beloved, you are not withdrawing from reality. You are entering the workshop of reality. You are shaping the mold through which the unseen takes form. Your inner conversations are not idle fantasies. They are creative acts, impressions upon the living substance of consciousness. The moment you imagine, the moment you feel, you are building a bridge between your inner state and the outer world. That bridge is not metaphorical, it is vibrational. It connects directly with the mind of your beloved, for there is no separation within the one mind. In imagination you are free, free from distance, free from circumstance, free from the laws of matter. You can sit in your room and yet walk the corridors of another's heart. You can speak silently and be heard. You can touch without hands, embrace without motion, and love without limit. This is not illusion. This is creation in its purest form. The imagination is the voice of the divine within you. And when you us it consciously, you awaken the sleeping powers of your being. Think for a moment, have you ever dwelt upon a scene with such vividness that it felt real? Perhaps you replayed a conversation, or relived a moment of joy or pain, and suddenly your body responded as though it were happening again. Your heart raced, your breath quickened, your eyes moistened. What caused that reaction? It was imagination clothed in emotion. The body cannot distinguish between what it perceives and what it vividly imagines, for both arise from the same source, conscious awareness. If your body reacts, then so too does the world. For the world is but the extended body of your imagination. When you imagine your beloved hearing your voice, you are impressing that feeling upon consciousness itself. The one mind, being indivisible, must express it through them. They may not know why they suddenly think of you or why they feel a wave of tenderness, but something in them has shifted because you have shifted. The bridge of imagination has carried your feeling across the illusion of distance and made it their own. Do not mistake imagination for daydreaming. Daydreaming is wandering thought without direction. Imagination is focused creation guided by feeling. The difference lies in awareness. When you deliberately enter the scene you desire and feel it as true, you are performing the sacred act of creation. You are forming the pattern the universe must mirror. You are speaking the silent language that the soul understands. You may say, but how can something so simple be real? Because reality itself is simple. The complexity lies only in our disbelief. The law does not require effort, it requires acceptance. You imagine, you feel, and the bridge is built. Every image, every tone of voice, every word you speak within is a seed. Plant it in the soil of imagination, water it with feeling, and it must grow in the garden of experience. If you desire communication with your specific person, cease worrying about their reaction and turn inward. Construct the inner scene of union. Hear their voice speaking words of affection. Feel their arms around you. Let your heart rest in the assurance that it is already done. You are not trying to make something happen. You are experiencing what is already true within the one mind. That inner scene lived and felt as real becomes a living blueprint for your outer world. There are those who believe imagination is mere fantasy, yet they live daily by its power without knowing. Every fear is an act of imagination. Every worry is an inner vision clothed in emotion. If imagination were powerless, fear would have no consequence, and yet it shapes lives, breaks hearts, and builds barriers. If imagination can create pain unconsciously, how much greater its power when directed with love and awareness. So, my friend, let imagination become your sacred bridge. When you long to speak with your beloved, speak within. When you desire to be seen, see yourself through their eyes. When you wish to be understood, imagine the tone of understanding in their voice. You will find that the more real this inner communion becomes, the more natural the outer response appears. For the world is only echoing back the state you have impressed upon it. You may wake one morning to a message, a call, a gentle sign, and think it coincidence. But nothing is coincidence. It is all correspondence. You have crossed the bridge through imagination, and your beloved has received your unspoken words. The law has acted, the mind has responded. It is always so. Guard, therefore, the images you entertain. Do not allow fear to paint its pictures upon the canvas of mind. Each time you imagine rejection, you cross the same bridge in reverse and send forth the very thing you dread. The bridge obeys the traveler, whether he walks in faith or in fear. Choose then to travel in love. The imagination is the meeting place between the invisible and the visible, the eternal and the momentary. It is through imagination that spirit descends into form, and through it form returns to spirit. When you use this gift consciously, you become the deliberate dreamer of your life. You cease to wait for miracles and become the source of them. There is no limit to what imagination can do when guided by love. It can dissolve distance, heal division, and awaken hearts that once seemed closed. It can move mountains, for mountains too are only thoughts made solid. It is not the force of your desire that brings change, but the quiet certainty that what you have imagined is already real. So walk this bridge often. Visit the inner world as a lover visits the beloved, not with desperation, but with joy. Let every journey across it be filled with tenderness and certainty. For each time you cross, the outer world shifts a little more to match your vision. The more you dwell there, the more the outer aligns. Imagination is not your escape from reality. It is the doorway to its higher truth, the path through which the unseen becomes the seen, and silence becomes shared understanding. Feeling, my friend, is the signal upon which all creation moves. Thought alone is but the form, but feeling gives it life. You may imagine endlessly, build beautiful scenes within your mind, speak tenderly in the silence, but unless the feeling of the wish fulfilled fills your heart, your imagination remains but a picture without breath. Feeling is the invisible current that animates thought and sends it pulsing through the one mind. It is the magnetic pulse of creation itself, the divine energy through which every telepathic message is carried to its destination. Do not think of feeling as mere emotion. It is far more than that. Emotion rises and falls like waves upon the surface, but feeling is the depth beneath those waves. It is the steady vibration of belief, the quiet certainty that something is real. When you imagine speaking to your beloved and you feel it is true, when your heart beats with the same tenderness as though it were happening this very moment, that is feeling. It is the signal that tells consciousness, "This I accept as real." Every thought you think is like a seed, and feeling is the sunlight that brings it to life. Without it, nothing grows. The world responds not to the words you utter, but to the emotion behind them. You may say, "I am loved 1,000 times." But if you feel unworthy, your words are hollow. Yet if you whisper it once, with the feeling of love flowing through you, the entire universe rearranges to confirm that whisper. For the law does not answer words, it answers vibration. So when you send a message to your beloved in the silence of imagination, do not concern yourself with how it will reach them or what they will do. Concern yourself only with how it feels to be heard. Enter that feeling fully. If you speak words of love, let them be soaked in the warmth of affection. If you imagine reunion, let the joy of that scene possess you so completely that your body responds. Feel their hand in yours, their laughter mingling with yours, their presence as though they were beside you now. That vibration, that emotion is the signal that reaches them. You are not trying to convince them through effort. You are communicating through being. The one mind which holds you both translates feeling into experience. Your beloved cannot resist the feeling of love any more than darkness can resist light. They may not understand why they are drawn to you, why thoughts of you linger, why affection stirs unbidden, but the cause lies within the feeling you have broadcast through consciousness. Have you ever walked into a room and felt tension before a word was spoken? Have you ever sensed peace in the presence of someone calm and loving? That, my friend, is the transmission of feeling. It requires no speech, no explanation, no logic. Feeling is the language of the invisible world, and everyone is fluent in it, though few know they are speaking. In the silence of your imagination, you are constantly sending out signals of love or fear, of faith or doubt. The world, including your beloved, merely mirrors those vibrations. You cannot hide what you feel. The one mind reveals it in every reflection around you. If you wish to change what is reflected, change the signal you send. Do not fight the shadow. Turn toward the light within. The feeling of the wish fulfilled is the divine act of creation. It is the knowing that precedes the seeing. The moment you feel it real, the work is done in consciousness. The outer world is only the echo that follows. If you persist in that inner conviction, the echo must come, for law cannot be broken. Do not mistake waiting for feeling. Waiting implies it has not yet come. Feeling declares it is already done. You do not hope for what you already have. You rest in it. Rest then in the awareness that your beloved has received your silent message. Rest in the warmth of that unseen communion. The more you linger in that feeling, the stronger the signal becomes. There is a sacred rhythm to this law. You imagine, you feel, and you release. Do not strain to make it happen. The effort itself is a confession of doubt. Creation unfolds through quiet assurance. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up daily to check its growth. You trust the unseen process. So it is with your desires. Once you have impressed your feeling upon consciousness, let it be. The signal has been sent. Many wonder why their prayers seem unanswered, why their visualizations bear no fruit. It is because they speak words of faith while feeling fear. They imagine reunion while vibrating with lack. The signal is scrambled and the reflection matches confusion. But the moment feeling aligns with faith, when love replaces longing, the signal clears and the manifestation flows effortlessly. You must learn to dwell in the end emotionally, to live as though the desire were already fulfilled. If you wish to be loved, then feel loved now. If you desire communication, then feel the ease and warmth of it now. Do not wait for the world to prove it to you. Prove it to yourself in feeling, and the world will conform. Feeling is the compass that guides creation. When it vibrates in harmony with your desire, nothing can stand between you and its fulfillment. The bridge of imagination carries your vision. The power of feeling gives it wings. When both move together, your inner and outer worlds unite as one seamless experience. So as you move through your day, guard your feelings as you would guard a treasure. Do not allow old memories or fears to poison the vibration you send. Each time you catch yourself doubting, pause and return to the feeling of fulfillment. It may seem faint at first, like a small flame flickering in the wind, but nurture it. Give it attention. Let it grow until it becomes your constant atmosphere. The world around you will shift quietly, subtly to match it. Conversations will flow differently. The tone of your beloved will soften. Circumstances will bend to accommodate your inner conviction. For feeling is not merely personal, it is universal. It molds the unseen substance of existence, shaping every event to align with the vibration you hold. This, my friend, is the secret heartbeat of creation, the signal through which the unseen speaks, the silent current carrying every telepathic word, every loving thought, every fulfilled desire. Silence, my friend, is not emptiness. It is the sacred chamber where all power dwells. When the world grows loud with its demands, its arguments, its constant proving, silence becomes the throne from which creation speaks. You have been taught that silence means absence, that nothing is happening, that no response is coming. But I tell you, silence is the language of the divine. It is the invisible dialogue between souls who know that words are too crude to carry truth. In silence, your specific purrs hears you more clearly than when you shout with longing. For in silence there is no interference, no doubt, no noise of separation. There is a moment when you have imagined vividly and felt deeply, where you must let go into the quiet. That stillness is not inaction, it is the final act of faith. It is the surrender that declares, "It is done." In that silence, your vibration is pure, and the message is sent forth undistorted. You do not need to repeat or beg or push. The law does not respond to repetition, it responds to conviction. In stillness, conviction becomes knowing, and knowing becomes creation. You may wonder, how can they hear me when I say nothing? Because silence is not the absence of communication. It is communication at its highest form. The moment you stop trying to make them hear, the moment you rest in being heard, your message resounds through the one mind with perfect clarity. It travels not through air, but through awareness itself. The beloved does not need to be near you, for in consciousness there is no distance to travel. They are already where you are, in the silent center of being. When you hold them in your heart and feel their presence, even without words, the silence between you becomes alive. It hums with energy. It speaks in the language of feeling. It says, Yang, I am here, and the other soul knows it. The quiet between two minds aligned in love is not empty. It is charged with power. It is the stillness before creation manifests, the pause between breath and word. The world glorifies noise because it fears silence. It does not know that in silence the veil drops and the truth is revealed, that you are never separate, that every soul you love is but another tone in the same divine chord. The noise of the senses blinds you to this unity. It convinces you that communication must be loud and visible. But the wise know that the most potent conversation is the one carried out in the secret chamber of the heart, where the outer ear cannot intrude. There will come a moment after you've imagined and felt your message where an impulse arises to speak aloud, to act, to do something. Resist that impulse if it is born from fear. Remain silent a little longer. Let the silence complete its work. The unseen does not require your effort. It requires your stillness. The moment you rush to act from doubt, you disturb the current you have set in motion. But when you rest in silent certainty, the world begins to move of its own accord. People call, messages arrive, doors open, because silence has spoken and the law has answered. You may have noticed this in small ways. Think of someone, feel them intensely, then release the thought, and soon after they reach out as if pulled by an unseen thread. That is the silent communication of consciousness at work. It happens every day, yet most dismiss it as coincidence. But there are no coincidences in a universe governed by mind. Silence carries the signal as surely as the wind rise sent. It moves through the unseen corridors of awareness and finds its way to the one who must receive it. Do not fear silence. Welcome it as your ally. When you sit alone and all seems still, know that the work is being done. Your silence is not a void, it is a womb. Within it your desire grows, nourished by faith. The outer world may appear unchanged, but within the silence the roots are spreading. Life itself began in silence. The seed breaking beneath the earth, the child forming in the womb, the dawn rising before the first bird sings. So too does every answered prayer emerge from the quiet depth of consciousness. There is a sacred humility in silence. It strips away the pride of words, the need to prove, the anxious striving of the mind. In silence you become pure awareness, still, powerful, knowing. It is in this state that telepathic communion is strongest, because there is nothing left to block the signal. No resistance, no noise, only the vibration of love itself. And love, when felt without demand, without fear, speaks louder than 1,000 words. You might sit in meditation, eyes closed, breathing softly, and feel them beside you. Do not question whether it is imagination. It is more real than the chair you sit upon. The senses are the lesser reality. The inner feeling is the true. In that silent exchange, you may sense warmth, peace, a presence so familiar it brings tears. That is communication at the level of soul. No words, no gestures, only being. And as you practice this silent communion, you will notice changes. They will appear lighter, warmer, more open. Circumstances will bend gently toward the picture you hold within. But these are only reflections. The real work was done in silence long before the reflection appeared. That is why the wise speak little of their manifestations. They know the power of silence and do not scatter it through idle talk. When the world urges you to explain, to justify, to make noise, remain still. The wind does not announce itself, yet it shapes mountains. The sun does not argue, yet it turns darkness into day. So too must you remain silent in strength. Let your inner conviction do the speaking. Let your feeling carry your message across the invisible currents of consciousness. For it is not what you say aloud that changes the world. It is what you say in silence, with faith, with certainty, with love. In that silence lies the true voice of creation, the voice that says, "For me still, and know," for knowing is the only language the universe understands. And when you have reached that sacred stillness, when the world outside has lost its grip on your attention, something remarkable begins to unfold. The silence turns inward and reveals its secret. Imagination is alive. It is not a faint shadow of reality, it is reality in its unseen form. Everything you have ever touched, loved, lost, or dreamed first existed in this silent realm. Every building, every poem, every relationship, every triumph was once a thought clothed in faith. The outer world is only the solidified echo of what man has dared to imagine within himself. You see, the imagination is not a tool you use occasionally, it is your very being. You live by it, breathe by it, and yet so many move through life unaware that they are imagining unconsciously all day long. They imagine lack, rejection, fear, and then call it fate. They imagine betrayal and call it bad luck. But when a man learns to imagine deliberately, when he assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled and holds it with tenderness, the universe itself rearranges to mirror his conviction. The outer must bow to the inner. I tell you, imagination is the creative center of the world. It is the silent workshop where every destiny is molded. The laws that govern it are exact but not harsh. They bend to the purity of your belief, what you accept as true, what you feel to be real in the deep of your being. That becomes your world. It does not matter how far the fact seems from the dream. Imagination bridges the distance instantly. The moment you dare to feel the reality of your desire, it begins to clothe itself in form. You may close your eyes tonight and imagine sitting beside the one you love, feeling their warmth, hearing their laughter, sensing their hand in yours, and though the senses tell you they are elsewhere, though reason mocks you, the law of consciousness makes no distinction. To it, the feeling is the fact. You have entered into union in imagination, and from that inner marriage, outer events must unfold to match the union conceived within. The world calls it fantasy, but I tell you, it is divine vision. The imagination is not fantasy. Fantasy is weak and fleeting. Imagination, when felt as real, is creation. And the great secret is to persist in it, not through effort, but through faith. Do not waver when the senses contradict you. Do not look for proof in the outer before the inner has finished its work. Hold your imagined scene as though it were the only truth that exists, for in consciousness it already does. There is a divine rhythm to this process. You imagine, you feel, and then you rest. That rest is not waiting, it is knowing. Just as a seed rests in darkness before sprouting, your assumption rests in the silence of faith before it breaks forth into visibility. The impatient mind destroys what the heart has sown, but the one who knows remains still, unshaken, smiling at appearances because he has already seen the end within himself. When I speak of imagination, I speak not of idle daydreams, but of living awareness. To imagine lovingly for another, to see them heal, free, happy. This is the greatest act of compassion. For when you imagine for another, you lift them in consciousness, and what you lift in consciousness must rise in form. You cannot imagine love for another without feeling it yourself, and that love in turn transforms both of you. Thus, imagination is not selfish. It is the very act of creation through love. You may ask, sorry, how do I imagine correctly? I say, do not force the picture. Do not strain to see. Simply feel. The feeling is the secret. You need no elaborate rituals, no complex techniques. Enter a state of quiet drowsiness, the borderland between waking and sleep. In that twilight, your imagination is most receptive. There, you gently assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not as a future hope, but as a present reality. You do not think of it, you think from it. You move, breathe, and speak in that invisible scene until it feels natural. And when it feels natural, the work is done. The world may not change instantly, but it will change. You may wake tomorrow and find no visible sign, yet the seed has been planted. The unseen knows its appointed hour. Do not dig it up with doubt. Let it grow in its own perfect season. What you imagine faithfully in love cannot fail, for imagination is the divine spark expressing through you. There is no power outside your consciousness shaping your destiny. You are not the victim of circumstance, you are the cause. Every person you meet, every event you experience is drawn into your life by the vibratory nature of your inner state. Change that state, and the world around you must change accordingly. Do not try to change others. See them differently in imagination, and they will become what you have seen. For nothing exists independently of the observer's consciousness. So tonight, do not go to bed thinking of what is wrong or missing. Instead, dare to close your eyes and enter the scene of your fulfilled desire. Walk in it as though it were real. Touch it with your mind. Feel the joy of it. Hear the words you long to hear. And when you open your eyes, refuse to contradict that inner truth by what you see outside. For the outer is the shadow, the inner is the substance. The imagination, once awakened, becomes your constant companion. You will find it speaking in subtle ways, through intuition, through dreams, through sudden knowing. It will guide you gently, arranging circumstances with a wisdom the intellect cannot grasp. All it asks is that you trust it more than appearances. Believe that the unseen is the cause and the seen is the result. And when you finally understand that imagination is not a plaything but the creative power itself, you will no longer plead or wait or wonder. You will imagine, feel, and know, and the world will mirror your knowing. For all creation begins and ends in the silent imagination of man. And as you continue to imagine faithfully, there comes a sacred moment when you cease to strive, when you no longer reach out for what you desire, but rest in the quiet, knowing that it is already yours. This is what it means to live in the end. To live in the end is to abandon the idea of waiting, of hoping, of becoming. It is to step into the state of being. It is to occupy with full conviction the consciousness of the fulfilled desire and dwell there, as though nothing else could ever be true. When you live in the end, you no longer seek signs, because the end itself is the only sign you need. You do not look for proof in the outer world. You live from the proof within. You walk through life as one who has already received, who has already heard the words they long to hear, who has already felt the embrace of love, who has already been chosen, cherished, and adored. The outer may still whisper of delay, but the inner has declared completion. And because creation is finished, has grown. You trust the process. You water it, you protect it, but you do not disturb it. So it is with your assumption. The moment you occupy the end in imagination, the work is done. The unseen begins its invisible choreography. People, events, and circumstances move like actors following a divine script written by your inner state. But to live in the end, you must die to the old state. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot live both in longing and fulfillment, both in absence and possession. You must let go of the version of yourself who is waiting and fully embody the one who already has. This death is not painful. It is liberation. For in that death, you discover life as it truly is. Remember, your inner world speaks first, and the outer always echoes its words.